Yeah, it's after Halloween. Edwin Salmon of Knowledge. Did you scream, Edwin Salmon of Knowledge? Or did you have some ice cream? Edwin Salmon of Knowledge. This is the show you're listening to. How's it going and how do you go? How did you do in the past? How did you do last week? What about next week? What's the plans? Are you going out on the town? Edwin Salmon of Knowledge. This is the podcast right now. You've got it in your ears right now. Rhyming now with now is not a good rhyme. Hey, Salmon Skins, and welcome to another episode of Edwin Salmon of Knowledge. I'm Edwin Salmon. Hopefully I'll lay some knowledge on you. There has been snippets, nuggets of knowledge, golden nuggets of knowledge. Like, did you know the breakfast cereal Golden Nuggets is not actually made from gold? It's true, guys. It's all true. Other nuggets of wisdom: babies aren't ticklish until they're 6 months old. So if you're going round trying to tickle babies that are under 6 months old, you are on a fool's errand, my friend. But hey, look, no one's blaming you. And also, it's probably a bad idea to go around tickling random babies. You don't want that. You don't want to be tickling random babies. You want to get your own baby to tickle. I've got a lovely tickly baby, and I'll give you the keys, as the old song goes. So, guys, how are you doing? I am a little bit tired. I've had a few days of restless sleep. I've slept, but it hasn't been a good sleep. It's been one of those times where I've just kind of felt tired all the time. And that's because there's been lots happening. I was doing a whole bunch of gigs that I've recorded on my phone because I just couldn't record them on my little camera thing. I realize now that my camera thing is not that good, and I need to get a new setup, and I am getting a new setup online with a camera stand and a case and a little light to illuminate my hairy face. And hey, there's the rhymes. Why couldn't I get those rhymes when I was trying to do a rhyme at the beginning of the show? Accidental rhyming is something that affects so many of us these days. If you or any members of your family have been affected by accidental rhyming, please, please keep on rhyming, because people need rhyming all the time. And I knew a woman and she moved to Athyman. There is a place called Athyman, and now, I'm really just rhyming with rhyming. Is that enough rhymes? Probably not. But listen, this is not some kind of rhyming show. Let me give you an update on what's happening with my life. Yeah, bunch of gigs. Gigging is back. Gigs are good. I am doing a gig in Galway. If you live in Galway City, I will be in the Roisin Dove on the 28th of this month, November. And for €10 or €8 with a discount, you can come see me. It's me. It's my new show called Come Here to Me, which is slightly... I thought about what to name the show. I was going to name the show something like Pandemic Pals or something stupid, something to do with the COVID-19 thing. But then I figured, fuck that. Obviously I will talk about it because so much has happened in the last 2 years, and how my life has changed in so many ways. My independence seems to vanish in the haze because I'm not an independent trader anymore. I have a family, which is great. I had that feeling of doing gigs, because I remember I used to do gigs before in the old days when I started off which is like 15 years ago when I started doing stand-up, nearly 15 years. So I'm 44 now. I started when I was 30. And I remember I lived on the north side of the city, living near the Glasnevin Cemetery. And that's almost a rhyme. I almost rhymed city with cemetery. And because her face was beautiful, because it had symmetry. She lived on the north side, near the cemetery. One time I went out and I chopped a tree, just to impress her, because I thought she would make love to me. You see? I don't see. Oh, come on, baby. You're the one for me. That's how we used to roll. That's how we used to talk on the north side, because I had to be tough, you know. You'd walk past some rough lads. Let's call them rough lads. A gaggle of men, a gaggle of lads, which is, you know, what would you call, you know, like a murder of crows, a flock of seagulls, a shite of lads. If they're lads with ill intent, I'd call them a shite of lads. Look at that, big shite of lads. Because there were some rough lads, some scary lads. I mean, I had that experience when I was living on the north side and I came back from America, and I was so used to being in the sort of southern states of America, you know, where people talk, you know, kind of like sort of drawling, sort of, you know, hey man, easy going. Everyone sounds like they're just discovered a big bag of weed. And they're just high and just, philosophizing. You know, like Matthew McConaughey, everyone's like, all right. And I came back and went into a shop, went into Deals with a Z. So you know it's good and you know the bargains are there. And surrounded by north side Dublin men wearing jackets, big puffer jackets, and talking, and it was terrifying. Their accents were so alien to me because I hadn't heard them in like 2 or 3 weeks, and suddenly you're surrounded. It's like an overkill. It's like an overdose of accents, and they just sounded like machine guns. They were just and I just like panicked and ran out of the shop. I didn't get any deals with a Z that day. And it was a sad day. Why was I talking about living on the north side or the south side? Glasnevin, trying to trace back my thoughts. And I remembered. And the reason I remembered was that I listened back to what I was talking about at the beginning of this podcast. That's one of the beauties of recording all the nonsense that you speak. Then when you forget your train of thought, you can just stop it, go back and continue. But there's obviously an edit point there, because I was talking in a north side Dublin accent. Now I'm talking in my normal voice, which is this voice. So yeah, what I was talking about was I was doing gigs in the Crack Den on Dame Street, which is the basement of Mulligan and Haynes, which is being run by Eddie Malarkey and Damo Clark. So head along to that if you are out and about of a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday or Friday. Yes, they're doing 5 nights a week, all of this week and next week, up to Christmas, I think, and then they have some Christmas parties going on if the world doesn't explode. If people stop licking the world is sick. So if you fancy going in there, I think it's like €6 or €8, but you get a free pint of Island's Edge Porter. Now, this podcast is not sponsored by the Crack Den. I mean, I was paid money for gigging there. It's not sponsored by Island's Edge, which is the new stout from the makers of Heineken. And is it nice? To be honest, like I had it in a Guinness glass, and I don't know whether it was just my brain being tricked into thinking that it tasted just like Guinness because it was in a Guinness glass, a kind of placebo effect, if you will, but I was just drinking it going, this just tastes like Guinness. And the barman informed me that it has subtle hints of tea. And I was like, what? I'd never met... see, that's the thing about Guinness. There's never really Guinness snobs or Guinness wankers. You know, you get wine snobs, not winos, that's a different thing. You get people who are like, oh yeah, so you got to slosh it around in your mouth and spit it in a bucket. Or are you even tasting the wine? You know, that kind of attitude. So this barman had that towards Guinness. Now, like, believe you me, I like a nice pint of Guinness. Bit of knowledge for you. My best Guinness pints, the Stag's Head. And I'm not saying that because the Stag's Head basement is where the Comedy Crunch happens every Sunday, Monday and Tuesday. And it's coming back after 2 years. That's another gig I'm doing. Gigs. I got gigs running all through me. So I'm going to try and record that gig. Fuck, I might even live stream it. How would that be? I don't know if I'd be allowed to loud stream it. I wanted to say live stream, but I said loud stream, and the reason I did that is because I heard Luke kind of screaming in the background. Not in a bad way, just in a hear my voice. He's at that age now where he's like, I must be heard, even if what I'm saying is not sentences and or words, just noises. Wow. Great pint of Guinness in the Stag's Head, 7th of this month, which is, this is going out on a Friday, which I'm hoping it is. Also, with that edit point, we moved from one day to the next. This is the magic of podcasting. You can record stuff over a number of days. And I have released episodes that have seemed like I'm just sitting here chatting for 45 minutes or whatever it is, or half an hour, whatever it is, whatever it ends up being. But it's actually been cut from several different days and several different sources. I know, guys, it seems disingenuous, but look, that's it. Yeah, Mark Ruffalo isn't actually the Incredible Hulk. None of it's real. I really picked one of the best characters from all of cinema history. I didn't go for Jack Nicholson, The Shining. I didn't go for Anna Karenina. I didn't go for any of those. What a weird trilogy of people. A triumvirate, rather, not a trilogy. A triumvirate. I invite you to triumph. What the fuck was I talking about? See, again, I've done it. Should I pause it and go back? I was talking about Guinness. Stag's Head, lovely pint of Guinness. Obviously, the Gravediggers, Kavanagh's pub on the north side, which is where is it near? It's near where I used to live, in Glasnevin, along by the cemetery, which is my original point before I started talking about pints. Bit of a link there. Bit of slight wordplay. I was talking about when I used to do gigs, and gigs would go well for the most part. Sometimes they'd go terribly, and I've talked about some of my terrible gigs in these on this podcast before. I know there is a podcast called My Worst Gig Ever. Is it my first gig or my worst gig? I don't know who does that. Not sponsored. This podcast does not sponsor that podcast because I can't even remember the name of it. But what I was talking about way back at the beginning of this podcast, before I kept getting constantly sidetracked, as I often do. But hey, look, that's the charm of this podcast. That's why you listen to it. That's why I got up to number 4 in the Irish Improv podcast chart. So thank you for listening. Yeah, you right now listening. Thank you so much. I love you. But I have real loves in my life as well as my podcast loves, my salmon skins. I have Cara and I have Luke. And I didn't always have that. I was, I was a single man. I wouldn't say a lonely man. You get lonely sometimes. And I used to feel when I would leave a gig and it went really well, and I'd be kind of walking through town to get my bus, the 40, to go out to the north side, and I'd be going home to no one. And I'd feel kind of like, like I had no one to kind of share my life's victories with. And that's what you need. You need someone to share life's victories with. And you need someone who'll point and laugh at the losers in life as you succeed at all costs. But sure, listen, look, we'll take a little break. And to lead us into the break is a little improv that I did 2 days ago. So we're going even further back in time, guys. This is like the fucking Time Machine podcast. And it's about the difficulties of what you might be hearing in the background as Cara's in the other room with a whingy Luke, probably needs his nappy changed. I might go and see if she needs assistance. But here is me a couple of days ago trying to do an improv rap with Luke in the room. And you'll hear how it goes. And then we'll take a little break and I'll see you after that. Come on, come on, yeah, feeling like a little baby on the floor, doing tubby time, stumbling round, I can't sit up, I can't crawl, I can't creep, that's what I do, I creep. Creeping is the thing that you do before you crawl, it's a thing that you do when you're growing tall, or maybe you're very small. It's okay, everyone comes in different shapes and sizes, even though many people just have arms and legs, torsos and heads. That's the generic arrangement of human beings. Yeah, a freestyling is hard sometimes, especially when you got a baby in the background. He's on the ground in the background, rustling with his toys in the background. He's getting angry, he's probably shit himself. I have to wash the shit off of his bowels. So guys, we're back. Thank you for coming back to the show. I hope you enjoyed that little rap. I was annoyed that I didn't rhyme toys and annoyed in the rap, but these are the regrets that you have, guys, when you're improvising songs and it doesn't always quite go according to plan. So it's been Halloween. I hope you've had a nice Halloween. I did say that I was going to watch Halloween, the movie, the original 1978 slasher that is a classic. I don't know if it holds up because it's 45 years old at this stage. Crazy. 45 years old, and Jamie Lee Curtis is starring in a new trilogy of Halloween movies. And there's the Scream King, in the background. Little Luke, who is just trying to warn me probably against watching Halloween because it probably doesn't hold up after all these years. Well, you don't have to watch it with me, Luke. I'll just watch it by myself. Okay, I'll go and check and see what's going on. And he's fine, guys. A little edit there. I kind of sounded weirdly because I listened back to that last sentence before this weird edit here where I kind of went, well, okay, I'll go see what's going on. I sounded like a reluctant deadbeat dad. He's like, I just want to drink my Bud Light and crush the cans against my head and sleep in a hammock and go to my dead-end job where my boss hates me. And I could have been a contender, but I broke my knuckles punching a Russian guy. And oh, wait, it's Rocky 4. It's not the plot of Rocky 4. I haven't seen Rocky 4 in a while. But I still haven't seen Halloween, guys, and everyone wants me to. It's on Netflix. It's on Disney Plus, I think. It's on all the streaming places. And everyone's like, you gotta see Halloween. I think it's one of those things where it's probably more influential than good, if you catch my drift. Now, I say that having not fucking seen it. I haven't seen anything in the last while. I still want to go see Dune. I'm so glad I'm not doing a pop culture podcast, even though I am sort of doing a pop culture podcast where I haven't seen the new James Bond. I haven't seen Dune. Everyone I know has seen Dune. A friend of mine went to see Dune, and I immediately was like, well, why? Thanks for the heads up. I would have liked to have seen that. Thanks. And then my brother-in-law went to see it in the IMAX. But he was going with a bunch of friends, and I didn't want to be the kind of sad hanger-oner, or even the sad hanger-oner. Why is that so hard to say? I've said it now, so I'll move on. So I'll probably just end up going to see Dune by myself in the cinema, which is fine. I've done that before. The theme of this podcast is loneliness, and the times I was alone. Myself and Cara have never been to the cinema together because I suggested a couple of movies when we were dating, and she said no to all of them. So we never went to the cinema, and we still haven't gone to the cinema. We were supposed to go, but then, things got in the way, and our babysitter had an infection. Our potential babysitter had an infection. We hadn't asked him to babysit and had to rest for a few days. And we didn't want to be saying, well, I know you're feeling bad, but can we throw a baby on top of you? Because that's what you need. When you're sick and lying down, the first thing you're thinking of, well, for me anyway, I guess for a lot of people, probably you included, listener, is, God, I wish I had a baby to deal with as well as this sickness. And speaking of sickness, I hope you are all keeping well. I know that numbers are on the rise again. It's weird how numbers are in the thousands, 3,000 new cases a day in this country. And I know everyone's vaccinated, and I know that's not 100% defense against, I mean, you can catch it, you just won't get as sick. And now that people are getting the flu shots, I think we might get the flu shots, because Cara is not feeling the best, and we thought it might have been. We did a check, and both of us did tests, and we are not carrying the COVID-19 virus. We checked out negative, but then I do wash my hands a lot. I wear my mask everywhere, and I know I've been out gigging, and I was gigging in the crackdown during the week, and the two English men came in, and they were chatting to me afterwards, going, "You're like 6 months behind us. We don't have to wear masks indoors or any of that." And I was like, yeah. We kind of said like, "Yo, you're way behind us," kind of thing. As in and I'm just thinking, don't you have like loads of cases? Isn't it kind of gone mad, wild, rampant? But I don't know. It just seems people have had enough of it. I guess it speaks to our quick fix attention deficit society that we live in. No, I'm not saying that people with actual ADHD. I'm talking about the attention spans. Basically, is what I'm saying. Not deficit. That is a deficit to not have an attention span that's very long. I remember a time where you just read an article and you wouldn't have to say, look at it and go, at the beginning, 7-minute read or something. It's like, how do they judge that? How fast do people read? What's the average speed of reading? What's the average read speed? That's what I want to know. Because I do know some people who, when it comes to movies, wouldn't watch anything that's not 90 minutes. And so many movies are 2 hours 10, 2 hours 15. The new Spider-Man movies, 2 hours 40 or something. But I guess it has to be because of all the characters that are in it. Will I be going to see that in the cinema? I don't know. Will I be going anywhere? So, so we did the test because we're responsible people and we have a baby. And, both of us had to do it just to make sure that neither of us had it. And, it's like I don't really understand my own brain when it comes to it, because at the beginning of the pandemic I was very nervous and very careful, and when I was walking around corners I'd walk out onto the road nearly getting hit by traffic just to avoid people walking around the corner because they mightn't, and this wasn't a time when everyone was wearing masks. I don't think at the beginning people were wearing masks. Maybe 50% of the population were wearing masks. The 50% of the population that I would walk into or near or around walk into, bumping into people, coughing and spluttering, wiping their noses in each other's hair and beards. But now I'm not as, I'm still careful, and I don't, use my elbows for everything, and I bring alcohol with me so I can stay drunk, and that makes the day go quicker. No alcohol rub. alcohol rub it with alcohol and put it in oven for an hour and a half and then put a honey glaze on it and you got yourself a COVID ham. But the other day I was walking around the corner and a jogger was walking hastily around the corner towards me and nearly ran straight into me. And I'm like, if you're going blind, full tilt, sweaty jog man, unmasked, running around the corner, like even if there wasn't a highly contagious virus floating around the world, you wouldn't do that anyway. It's just, I don't understand. Like some people are just, and this is probably why we're doomed to face these things. Well, number one, how we treat animals as our, just our food source. And we just want to mass farm these animals. And like, I'm not saying I'm a saint, but I do now use oat milk a lot. So, hey, that saves the planet, right? I've done it. What's that? News just in. It saves planet by drinking oat milk. Okay, fair enough. So, I'm not saying I have. But, yeah, like people will just act the way they act. Like I think I mentioned briefly before on a previous podcast, probably at the very beginning, like a year and a half ago, where myself and my younger brother, when he was living in Dublin, we were going to the IFI, the Irish Film Institute, to see some arty movie. I don't know what we were going to see. We could have been going to see Inland Empire. So whenever that David Lynch movie came out, and just when we were walking towards the entrance to the place, some guy walks out and just sneezes, really sneezed, like stepping out the door onto a path, and there could have been people on his right and his left. We were walking up. Like he didn't stop, sneeze into his elbow or his hand or a tissue. He just sneezed just threw it out there into the world in a sort of a, that's your fucking problem now, everyone. And we were just disgusted because it's disgusting. So you're always going to have people like that. You're always going to have rule breakers. All you can do is just do right by you and the people around you. I really hope there's not another lockdown because gigs are happening. Like I said, I'm gigging in Galway in the Roisin Dove on the 28th of this month. I'll be doing an hour and 15, maybe even an hour and a half. I'm trying out all sorts of new stuff and all sorts of old stuff. Some of the new stuff has been going very well. Some of it was born from this very podcast because I talk about my experiences and then they become kind of bits. Obviously, I'm talking about Luke. I'm talking about a tiny bit of a pandemic, but not really, because I think everyone's experience is different and everyone maybe doesn't want to hear about it. People want, like I say, the attitude now is that people want to forget it, and as far as I can see, people are out and they're drinking and they're going to gigs, and I don't think there will be another lockdown. I don't see how they would do it. Now, I do know that if you're not vaccinated, then do get vaccinated. There's some real, don't be an idiot. I know you probably think you're smart and you've done your research online, but you're not. And, you've had so many things injected and ingested into you that you don't know where it comes from or what it is or how good it's been for you. And now you're like, well, I don't know, there's a lot of questions. Yeah, there are a lot of questions being raised, and they're dumb questions. And I know some people who aren't vaccinated, and I've told them to their face, well, you should fucking get vaccinated. And some of these people have had COVID. There's a weird thing, I was reading about teenagers who don't want to get vaccinated, and there's something like 10% of every county in Ireland, even though we're 90-something% fully vaccinated as a nation. But there is a percentage, and a percentage of that percentage is young people, like teenagers, who don't want to get vaccinated, but now do because pubs are open and stuff. So it's like, I don't understand that. It's like, I guess if I'm not around people, I don't want to take this potentially dangerous vaccination, which will, I don't know, make my head explode or make a second head grow on my shoulder, which will then explode, or turn my insides to jelly, or give me some kind of neurological disorder or something. I don't know what their reasons are. But now, it's like, now that I can go out drinking and shifting people, then I will have this vaccine that previously I thought would kill me. I don't know, guys. Who knows? All I know is we had kids doing trick or treating door to door, which they didn't do obviously last year, and it was my first time in the house here with Cara and the rest of my in-laws. And Cara put on makeup. She looked like a sexy clown that hadn't had a lot of sleep, because she had sort of black rings under her eyes, and she also had done her lips with makes them look kind of like bigger. She's got lovely luscious lips anyway, but she looked like a kind of a clown lady lips. And we got lots of sweets, fizzers and chocolates and Freddos, which we ate a lot of. And we had the light on in the porch, and which is an indication for people to come in, because normally, if you don't want people to come in, if you're a miserly person who just is desperate to have their house egged by trick-or-treaters, then you turn off all the lights and sit in darkness for the night. Don't even watch TV, even if your favourite show is on and you hate to miss it. It just happens to clash with Halloween, and the one thing you don't want to do is have to intermittently go to the door a couple of times during the evening and give out sweets to innocent children who, for the first time, maybe are doing Halloween. And that's what some people used to do in my hometown, that have all the lights on, and they'd definitely be home, and that have all the lights off rather. And they'd invariably, the house would be bombarded with the unfertilized embryos of chickens, because guys, that's what eggs are. Apparently, I don't know if that's true. Look, I know this show is called Edwin Salmon of Knowledge, but I don't know if that knowledge is true. All I know is I said something kind of inappropriate. I thought it was sort of funny. I think it's just because I've been gigging. That's my excuse. There are times when I know if I say something, it will be funny but inappropriate. And this time I knew that this was going to be inappropriate and funny, but I said it anyway. And then afterwards I was like, the kids didn't get it. But basically, people called up. It was the next door neighbours, which made it worse. Called to the house, and there's like 2 or 3 boys. I know they have 2 boys and maybe their friend. And the mother, who wasn't really dressed up, unless she was dressed as a suburban woman. I don't think that's that frightening. And the boys were dressed, the kids always dress in these costumes, and I love seeing the cheap knockoff costumes, especially when they can't say what they actually are, even though by looking at them that's Dracula. But you can't use Dracula because it's copyright infringement. There's like certain costumes that go to great lengths to not be sued. Robot cop. Eastern European blood fancier man, because you can say vampire, because that's not that's not copyrighted by anyone. But Dracula, I think, is still. The Bram Stoker estate will sue your ass if you try to use Dracula. And then there's northern African country bandages undead person. The mummy. And then it's just a series of sexy witches and sexy nurses and sexy this and sexy that, and zombie boys and the zombie boys. But like, there was a lot of inflatable costumes where a couple of kids came in. They could barely get in the door because one of them was in that inflatable sumo costume, sumo wrestler, and the other had inflatable ones that were dinosaurs, and one that was like a thing was attacking them, like snakes were attacking them in an inflatable thing, which I'd never seen before. And then, a series of witches. And I went for a walk then afterwards. Most of the kids had gone, and there was one little girl who was maybe 8 years old, and I was walking along the road and her dad was there, and I went like in a kind of fake scared way. I was like, "Oh, a witch." And she went, "I'm not a witch." Like I'd offended her or something. I was like, play along. Where's your imagination, young child? But anyway, these kids came up, and one of them was dressed as a ninja, okay? So the ninja had all in black and had like a kind of a black mask over its face, its top half. Kind of like when Batman is in his first year and he doesn't have the bat suit, but he is dressed somewhat like a ninja. And I said, "What are you, in the IRA?" Or what did I say? "What are you, an IRA man?" That's what I said. And then I think I said, "Up the Ra." And then Cara gave me a look as if to say, "Ed, shut the fuck up." And she was right. Because the mother didn't laugh at all. I think she was maybe shocked. And I guess it's too soon to mention a terrorist group, especially in connection with a tiny child at a scary time of the year. It kind of sounds like I'm wrapping up, doesn't it? Doesn't it, guys? It does. And do you know why that is? It's because I am wrapping up. So what I'll do is I'll do my wrap up now, and I'll play my outro wrap up music. So guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Edwin Salmon of Knowledge. If you wish to become a patron of Edwin Salmon of Knowledge, you can go to Patreon, Edwin Salmon of Knowledge, and for €5 a month, which is what a pint of Guinness used to cost, you can get extra episode every Sunday. You can get extra video pods. You can get my writings. Half of my book is up there. I'll probably read from my book and a children's book in the next extra episode. So that will be for your listening pleasure. And if you want to come see me live, I'll be playing in Galway in the Roisin Dove on the 28th. I'll be playing this coming Sunday in the Stag's Head basement, but get there super early. Get there at 8 o'clock if you can, because it'll probably be sold out. And I'd like to leave you with a song that I've done, which I haven't put lyrics to, because when I recorded it, I sang kind of lyrics over it. And here's the song, guys, right? And just so you know, I won't sing the lyrics now because I don't want you to get those lyrics stuck in your head. Because whenever I tried to re-record it with different lyrics, it always sounded terrible. I couldn't get that original terrible set of lyrics out of my mind. So I'm just going to leave it here for you. You can play in the background or whatever. If you want to put lyrics to it and send them in to me, or sing along and send that in to me, you can tweet it at me, you can Instagram me, you can, I don't know, is there any other ways you can do it? Those are the ways: tweeting, Instagramming. You can find me on Facebook and send it to me. But I you can have it on the background. I'm just going to throw it out there. So here it is, the song that is unnamed, because I don't want to say the name of it that I gave, because that will tell you what lyrics I used. So I don't know if you can think of a rap or think of anything. Or look, it can just be some incidental music for you. But I hope you enjoy it on some level. If you've listened this far, you're a hero. If you could also give me a review, that would be great. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.